Morning, everybody. Today's reading is 2 Corinthians 11, verses 1 to 4. And here it is. I hope you will put up with a little of my foolishness. But you're already doing that. I am jealous for you with a godly jealousy. I promised you one husband, to Christ, so that I might present you as a pure virgin to him. But I'm afraid that just as Eve was deceived by the serpent's cunning, your minds may somehow be led astray from your sincere and pure devotion to Christ. For if someone comes to you and preaches a Jesus other than the Jesus we preached, or if you receive a different spirit for the one that you received, of a different gospel from the one you accepted, you put up with it easily enough. That's it. And it's some interesting imagery as Paul presents himself as something between a possessive lover and a matchmaker. It's clear how much he cares for the Corinthians, how much he values them, and how proud he is of them. And it made me think about our elders, particularly those who are working full-time for the church or have done so at one point, like me, Mark and Nick and Al. And they've invested so much of their lives and their time in us as a body, and they've sacrificed a lot to do that. And maybe someday they will present us to Christ, and that will be a proud moment. I don't think they ought to have to wait until they meet Christ for their reward, though. We ought to honour and respect them for what they do. I don't think this means unthinking obedience or passive subservience. Sometimes it's right to question. Occasionally we need to say, no, I don't think that's right. But we do need to respect them, to honour them and encourage them. And we probably need to affirm them and let them know we value what they do more often. I think on some days leadership can seem a thankless task in which no one appreciates what you do and moans all the time. So here's a challenge. Make an effort to thank or encourage a leader this week. Paul's key concern here is that the Corinthians stay true to Christ, that they don't get tempted into a different understanding of the gospel to that Paul has. And I presume that the Corinthian church was made up of people who had heard Paul speak and become followers, and also people who had heard Paul's initial followers and been brought to faith. They'd have probably been mainly Greek. They may not have understood the Jewish scriptures well, and it's unlikely any one of them would have had direct contact with Jesus and the other apostles. And they've also got no New Testament. So in that situation where, they've just heard it from Paul, they've got no scriptures to refer back to, they've got no direct contact with Jesus, it's reasonably easy for a new preacher to come along with a wrong understanding and lead them astray. In a way, we've got things easier. We've got a full set of scripture and 2,000 years worth of theological reflection on what those scriptures and the events of Jesus' life mean. And while there's a lot of debate about the details, the basic narrative of the story and what salvation means is agreed by Christians of all times. Most of us can stand and say the Nicene Creed together and mean it. I think Will Hepburn says something I really like when he talks about the gospel and what's really important. He says there's a lot of stuff he's really not worried about. There's stuff that he believes very firmly and thinks is important, but he can work with people who can live differently, think differently. And Then there are red lines, things that are really, really important and can't be compromised on. And he says the older he gets, the fewer these red lines get, but the thicker they become. And it's stuff like Jesus being God, dying and raising from the dead, being saved by grace. And I think another way to put it is the way that Elizabeth I put it, who's recorded of saying, there is one Jesus, one Christ, one Jesus, one faith. All else is a dispute over trifles. She was a wise woman. And I think it's a good way of looking at things. So let's cling to the gospel, to the essential facts, to those red lines, and not sweat the small stuff. And I think we should pray for our leaders this morning, because they have a lot of responsibility and a big burden. And I think we should pray that we should be easy people for them to lead. Okay, and that's it.